Hi guys, welcome to my channel, and today we'll see how to store the JSON data into MySQL database using the springboot. We'll use the NoSQL database to store the JSON data because this is not a structured data, right? So MySQL we are choosing to store data in the table format in the relationship to perform the one to many, many to one. This kind of relationships you can go with the MySQL. So the MySQL also you can store the JSON data. Okay, so we'll see how to store this JSON data in the MySQL. Okay, so if you see this one, this is the medium page. So if you want that code, you can just visit this medium page and take this code. So I added all the classes also in here, so you can just copy and try your system once. Okay, so I'll give you this medium page link into the description. Okay, so let's get started now. So first we'll create one sample project. So for that one, so I'm open start.spring.io, and here I'm selecting Maven and Java. If you see, I'm again selecting this is MySQL with MySQL JSON. Okay, I just named this one as MySQL JSON. We'll see the how to store. Okay, Java I selected as 17, and we'll add the dependencies. So here we need three dependencies. One is for web, one is for MySQL, and another one is for JPA. These are the three dependencies we require, and we'll generate this project. Yeah, now it is done. Okay, now we'll extract this project. So I'm extracting into the there is a springboot folder, so I'm extracting into this. Okay, it is done. Now we'll open into that IntelliJ ID. So this is my project, show more, and opening into the IntelliJ ID now. So okay, trust this project. Okay, if you see this project structure once, so we have the SRC. So in the SRC we have the we have only one class as of now, MySQL JSON application.java. And if you see this form.xml file, so here we are using this Java 17 and Spring Data JPA and the Spring Starter Web and MySQL connector. Okay, so we missed add Lombok here, so we'll just take that Lombok dependency, Lombok Maven dependency. Otherwise we need to create the setter and getters each and every time, so it is difficult. Okay, copy this Lombok and we can keep into here. You can save and you can just update this form.xml file. Click on the Maven. Still it is loading, rebuilding this application. Once it is done, then all these errors will go away. Okay, see, now it is completed. So Lombok is also there in this project now. Okay, so for this one, what we need to do, we'll create one student class as an entity, and the student class will have the student ID, and another one is the student details. Okay, so in the student detail, I'll explain it once again. So we'll take one student as entity. Here we'll have the ID as well as the details. Okay, so these details will have, these details is a JSON. Okay, so these details we need to store some JSON data, any bulk data. For example, student name, mobile number, and role description, whatever the data they want. So multiple data will store in the one column in the database. Okay, okay, so come here, we'll create one controller first. So for that one we need to create controller package first. Now controller is ready. Create one more package like the repo is ready, and one more package for service. Okay, so 3 packages already. Now we'll create one controller class. So let's take student controller, and we'll make this one as a REST API. So for that one, using the REST controller and request mapping, and we are enable this one /API, and we'll create one method that is for post method. We'll save the student details, right? So we'll save those information. Okay. So return type as a string, just we'll get the confirmation and save student details. So detail, this is the method, and we'll pass some input for this one. So input again a request body and string Json string. Okay, or we can give some name like student details. Okay, this is the input, and we need to return that. So first we'll create the service. We'll create entity. Okay, entity package is missing here. We'll create the entity package first. Dot entity. In the entity, we'll create one student. Okay, we'll creating one student class here, and here we'll create private. We'll create one private integer id, and another one is for another variable private string details. Okay, these are the two variable I created. So this is the entity class, right? So we'll mark this one as an entity. Okay, so first annotation entity, and you can, so I'm using Lombok, so you can use annotation data, annotation setter. I think still it is not recognized with the Lombok class path. Then now it is identified. Annotation data, annotation data. Okay, now setter, and we'll give the getter also, and you can use the all argument constructor, and we'll give the no argument constructor also. Okay, and also you can use something like component from the springboot stereotype. Okay, now we'll mark this one as an entity. So this is the primary key we'll give. Okay, primary annotation id we'll need to use, and annotation generated value, annotation generated value, and we'll use a strategy is equal to generated type auto or identity, or you can use as per your requirement. You can try to use. Okay, and you can use annotation column also if you want. If you have any change on the variable level, then you can use the annotation column also. If your variable name is same in the database and here, then no need to use this field name. Okay, and here also you can define the annotation column, name is equal to details. Okay, I'm giving same name here. This annotation column is not required, but I'm just keeping. Okay, so now this is our entity class. Entity class is ready now, and now we'll create one repository. So repository repository is nothing but here interface we need to use. Okay, so we're naming name as generate student repo, and this will extends JPA repository. You can use JPA repository or code repository, anything you can use. Okay, so in the JPA repository we can use the entity as a student and id as an integer. Okay, now our entity class is also fine. You can mark this one as a repository. Entity class is already fine. This is where marking as a repository class now. Okay, Just rebuild it. So now repository is fine. Now we need to create one service class for this repository. Come to class, we can create a student service, and I need to mark this one as an annotation service to make this one as a service class. Okay, and here we'll create one method, public string save student details. Okay, so input as a string student details. Okay, this is the string, JSON string. Okay, now here, so we need to save, right? So to save, first we need to annotate with create the object for repository first, because all the operations, code operations will do from the repository only, right? So student repo. Okay, we need to mark this one as annotation auto voided. Okay, now our annotation student repository object is null, so you can use student repository dot save, and you can pass as a student object, right? So we need to create one student s is equal to new student. I'm creating student object, and I'll set some value as start set id. I'm manually setting right now, and as start set details is nothing but coming from the request. Okay, student details, this is again a JSON. Okay, now we can save into the student. Okay, now we'll return something like student saved cc successfully. Okay, I'm just returning one string for this. Okay, so now repository is ready already, and service also ready. Now we need to do the changes in the controller class. So from how this flow will happen, controller to service. So we need to get the service class object first, right? So what is the service name? Student service. Student service. So we need to mark this one as auto void. Okay, so it will give the student service object. So student service dot save student details. We need to pass the student details. This is the JSON I am passing. Okay, and this is the we are saving, right? So it is like post. So we need to use the post mapping for this one, like save. Okay, save is annotation API slash save I'm using, and this is the controller to service, and service to repository. It will store data into the database. Okay, now we need to set the database properties in the application properties. Okay, so we need to set for your username URL, database yeah, data source URL, and username password, and there is another property for JPA level also. Okay, so we need to just copy paste. You can take from the Google and copy paste. MySql springboot MySql database. Otherwise I created already in the medium page. You can just copy from here. So these are the properties is required for this. Okay, you can just paste. So application name is already given, that MySql JSON, and port number 8686, and this is the test as the database I'm using. Okay, so in the test database I'm using the student table and ID as well as the details. So instead of details we can use the student underscore details. Okay, so here we'll use the student detail. Okay, this is the student details. Okay, so now if you see controller, service, repository, entity, and application properties. If you see in the service level, we are setting some value here, right? So if you are not setting also, you can see automatically it should set the value for that auto increment value. So auto increment value it will set, but before that one we need to set up the database also first. Okay, first we'll set up the database table for that. Okay, so I'm opening the database. I think you have understood this flow. Okay, 8080 root. Okay, so there is no schema for test, so I'll create new schema. So text, so schema is ready. Now I'll create the table for that. So I'll just take the query from here. This is the query. So this is the schema. So test schema, I'm creating student ID and student underscore details. So if you see here, I'm using the data type as a JSON. If you see the student, so data type as a JSON student details. Okay, now it is ready. Now we'll start this springboot application. So still it is loading. So it will compile and it will start execution of the springboot application. Application is starting now. So application is started. Started MySql application and port number 8686. Okay, so now we'll test this application in the Postman. Okay, so localhost 8686 and API 8686 slash API slash. Okay, this is the request, post request. We'll test in the Postman. There is a issue in my Postman, I think. Open it manually. I didn't remember this password also. Sign in with Google. We'll try a different account otherwise. And Postman. The first time it will take time. Yeah, it is open. And we'll create. So in this collection, I will create rename MySql JSON, and I'll create one new request for this. Add a request, and this request type is a post, and you can use the URL http localhost 8686 slash API slash save. Okay, and we'll copy some sample JSON for that. Okay, no problem. I'll add it here itself. Body, raw data, and JSON. Okay, so first we'll use like contact. So we'll give some mobile number for this contact. We'll use description. So we'll go. So he is very good student, and about location. Location is nothing but address. So for example, take something like village and mandal, village, comma, Usually the address would be like this: mandal comma district comma state hyphen some pin code. Okay, like this. If you see, this is the complete, everything is in the JSON. Okay, so this is one JSON, so it will come as a request and it will save this request into the database column as a student details. Okay, let's try this one. See, student saved successfully. Come to the database and you can just refresh and open this student table. Okay, and now if you see this one, this cell, see, this cell is storing the data into the JSON. See this complete thing. So this is a simple JSON, but if you want something like bulk data also in the JSON, you can store all the bulk data into the single cell itself. So usually in that case, people will choose for NoSQL database, right? So for that one, in the MySQL also there is an option to store this data in the form of JSON. Okay, okay, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Please share, like, subscribe my channel. Thank you.